Anyway, yeah, I was making that bacon. I decided, you know what? I'm going to take a drive because ironically, I only live I'm on the same road almost as I used to live in college there on William Charles. So I'm going to flip this camera around. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to tell you the stories. So right up here is the Packer Stadium here on the right. And back then, this is probably 20 years ago, right? It was so much smaller of a city, you know, traffic and everything. I know everybody says that, but... And we got the worst streets, and they rated us, I think, top 3 worst roads in all of the country this year. And it's true, man. We just got all these roads done. We're just missing huge chunks out of them. If you hit one of these things, it could take your tire right off. My God, I hit a pothole the other day. It's so sickening. But anyway, the stadium there you got on the right, and we only lived, 3 blocks up from the stadium, so and people could notoriously park there you didn't need no parking slips or numbers, and people would just file in and park the parking lot in, and they'd always give us free beers, tailgaters. Whatever, I'd sit out there, we had no money, so I'd sit out there during Packer games, and people would say, I will give you a couple beers if you make sure nobody breaks into the car, blah, blah, blah. So I always ended up getting free beers. And then we could walk up here and just, you could walk right into the tailgates, and I was paying, get this, I was paying $375 a month, right? And they never did raise my rent over 6 years or whatever it was, because they forgot completely about me. They forgot I never had to get an inspection or nothing. I just kept paying my $375. Nobody ever said anything to me. So yeah. And looking back, I could hardly come up with the $375. But yeah. So I had it made there for 6 years. I was paying $375 a month, and here I thought, at the time it was hard to come up with that money. But anyway, this gas station here on the left, this BP here used to be called something else, and a little Arab guy owned it, and he had, I think the hot dogs were $1 if I'm not mistaken, or 2 for $2 burgers, and me and Dave would be freezing our butts off, and we'd go in there just shaking, trying to warm up, and we'd get a burger, for $1, and we'd be paying in change. Anyway, right here's the road, and it had I'll put another picture in here to show you how different the street is again, but it was all these old places, and there's a couple left, but you drive here, it'd be right next to Sammy's Pizza here, right by the stadium, right? And oh man, I still remember coming home to this. Look what they did to it now, though. There's only the one little complex here left on the right. That one old complex there to the right. And where all these big, beautiful buildings are, up there to the left there is right where we lived, right there to the left. This big condos. Look what they've done to our neighborhood. Anyway, the running joke is all these condos is where those apartments were. The running joke now is to live in my $375 apartment would cost you $1 million. Anyway, these were a part of it too. These are the last 2 remaining little offshoots here to the right. Right here. And then these Marvel Lane apartments, we had a lot of people straight ahead. These apartments here were kind of connected. You could walk right through because, like I said, all these condos here were just our old apartments. And then you get all these crazy people, too, would kind of come back and forth here from this Marvel Lane here, which is a whole nother ecosystem in itself right here. But yeah, it's the last of a dying breed. They'll be tearing these down, too, I heard. And it's all rich people now. But back in the day, Green Bay, Anyway, this is your Marvel Lane apartments. And they got a whole bunch of characters, or they used to have a whole bunch of characters here too. So we'd go back and forth, and sometimes we'd run into guys from here, and then they'd come back over to our place. And it was just a whole ecosystem of a bunch of batshit crazies and a bunch of college kids, people getting out of jail, halfway house type deal. You name it. We had a good old time though, but look at them now. $1,000,000. I think the lowest price on one of these was $700,000, if I'm not mistaken, or something. I looked into it at once, but yeah, look what they've turned our city into. It's just for rich people now. It's getting there. It won't be long. Anyway, this is the one where the guy lit his house on fire right here. He lit the apartment on fire right here. On these right here. And me and Dave went in the back here. I'll see if I can't turn this car around. Me and Dave went in the back here, and we opened the door. I think it was his brother was kicking the door and with the hose, you know, and spraying the hose in there right here. I'll get my car lined up on it right there, straight across the street there in that left door. And look at it's already. He's still got crazies living there. This is the last of it. These are the last two that are going to be around. They'll be tore down here soon. And you can see right there, the guy's in there smoking a cigarette out the window. But on the left side there, the whole place was on fire, and the guy was spraying his brother with the hose. His brother was on the couch. He wasn't waking up, and the brother was just dousing him with the hose, you know. And the cops finally showed up, and they finally pulled the guy out. And when he walked out of there, you could just see the smoke and steam coming off his body, and he only was in his underwear. They took him to jail, though. But, man, me and Dave laughed about it. And then another time before that, the guy was having a big old bonfire, and he started the whole place on fire in the front. The logs were on fire rolling down the hill, and oh man, we've seen some stuff. Anyway, they've turned into a bunch of condos here, but I thought I'd take a little ride past to show you the road. But yeah, the days of living like that, and they're coming to an end. As you can see here, they're still holding out a little bit right here. They're holding on a little, but it won't be long. They'll tear these down. You can see side by side what it used to be to what it is now. You get a full picture of it. You see how beat up and these apartments are and that. This is the last little remaining buildings, and it won't be long. They'll be gone. Last two little remaining buildings here. But there was a whole bunch of them, you know. There was a whole bunch of us. The whole world's changing, you know. It's just not the same city anymore, and it's not gonna be, you know. They're slowly moving. It is what it is. I forgot the saying about progress, you know. I forgot what president had the saying about progress stops for no man or something like that, and that's what's going on. It won't be long because they'll probably get millions of dollars for this property, and but anyway. They're going to do a whole walk through here all the way to the river there to the right. And but yeah, this is where them buildings were in the pictures I'll put in the front again for you. Those were the days. I'd be selling my junk cars. I'd get in the car here with Dave. We'd be shaking and freezing. We'd go down here and get a couple burgers and warm up for $1 or $2 with quarters. And we'd be off to do some sort of job for somebody. I'd be putting an alternator in -20, or not alternator, starter in. I did all these different things trying to make a couple bucks to survive. And this year we met a couple people that live with us that worked at this ministry here on the right that we just drove by, and Bible thumpers used to live by us, and they'd be preaching the Lord. And the same person that was preaching the Lord got caught drinking at work. And oh man, I try to think about all the stories, you know, that come to my head when that guy coming out of that apartment smoking, his whole body was smoking, and Birdman was out there laughing with his shirt off. And man, did we have a good time, you know. And then back here is what I told you, we were shooting back here. This was all wooded, kind of, right here behind this big church here or this big bank on the right, this Capitol. We'd walk through here. This was our way to get home, you know. We'd walk back here. It was our little it was all like wooded. It was to make it for scenic view behind this really nice, expensive bank here. It was all scenic. You see where the big apartments are or whatever. So we'd walk through. It was all trees and a completely different setting than this. Now you can see how different it looks. And we cut through the back here. Now they got a fence up. This was all trees. You see there's still some trees left, but and I had a hunting range back there, and we'd walk to the bar this way, you know. And if you had William Charles Court on your driver's license, I don't know how many. We'd walk back here This is how we'd get to our house. We'd use it as our little cross through, and it was a whole little forest they had, you know. Right here. You can see there's only a couple trees left, you know. And we could walk right here. I'll show you. We walk right back through here, and we'd follow this road. And I'd go to the bars, and we'd cut back in and come home. And man, they let us get away with murder. The cops, if I remember, if you had William Charles Court on your ID, 90% of the time the cops were letting you just go home back then. They didn't even. They'd ask me for ID because I'd be acting like an idiot and a bozo, you know, at the bar, and we getting in little fights or whatever. And back here, I'd walk through this, and we'd walk back this way, and we'd make a left at these lights, and you get to all the big bars, you know. Wouldn't have to drive, none of that. You just walk right through that, and you come up this light, you make a left, and you go by all these big bars in town by the stadium. And I remember a couple times I caused so much trouble, and the cops had 3-4 cops on me asking me for my ID and that. And the moment they saw William Charles Court, and they just looked at me, they already knew which door I was in, and they said, "Get your ass home," you know. Still got away with that 20 years ago. Now I would have been locked up about 100 times, you know. But yeah, just having that William Charles Court, almost every cop knew what bozo and what door they were in, you know. You'd see apartment, whatever it was, and he'd say, "Get your ass home. I don't want to see you out here again tonight," you know. And I would, for the most part, get my ass home and not come back out after I've caused too much trouble with all the fans and everything. They certainly didn't want us characters down here at the bar mingling with all the causing all that trouble, but we did. We caused a lot of trouble. Nothing major, but you know, you could just imagine us, you know, poor kids, drunk, college kids. We'd walk right down this road right here, right off the back of our apartment, you know, all of us goofballs, and we'd get a group of probably 8-10 guys, you know, and we'd all be traveling together. We'd walk out here with all the guys that were going to the game, and we'd be grabbing beers, and you got the bar on the right, and Doozies, Stadium View, all the best bars in Green Bay. We lived right by it. We were paying $300 rent. What a life, you know. Now to have this lifestyle, you have to pay $1 million. That's why it's the running joke, you know, that to live like we lived, it would cost you $1 million. So here we were living for $350, the poorest in town. Maybe not the poorest, but that's pretty poor. And we thought we had it bad. We look back now, we were living in the nicest part of the whole city. $300 a month. We got to live there for who knows 5-6 years, and walk to any game we wanted. And when the Packers won the Super Bowl, I must have had 20 people packed in my apartment. And we used to have just regular TVs, you know. We didn't even have enough money for flat screens. I used to collect the ones they put on the curb, hook them all up together. I had 10 of them strung together for the Super Bowl. Just regular big fat TVs. I used to rip the counters right out and put TVs in there. Have people over we met online, and I had a bumper pool table in there. I wish I had all the pictures. I ain't got them no more. All we had was Polaroids back then and flip phones, but there's a shot of the stadium. I just thought I'd show you the road because I got my little vlog I made today, and now at least you get a chance to see what I'm talking about. And what, you know, I think that'll probably be the last video recorded in history before they tear them down, you know. And all those memories are going to be gone, and will be gone, and the city's going to be it's slowly just moving right into the neighborhoods now. And the Green Bay of the past, where you had college kids and screwballs and all these people able to afford to live right by the stadium like that, will never happen again. We got to see something, and if we would have known at the time how good we had it, that's why I'm making this little vlog today. You know, I don't think Dave got a chance to get back out here since, and to that road. So this one's for you, Dave. But yeah, and here he's got his nice football trophy on the right. They're all cut up, and then you got all these expensive houses there that were on the left that they rent out for the games. I got somebody behind me. He's like, "Get moving, buddy." Yeah, I'm trying to think what else I can say about it, you know, because I kind of went into the stories. But, oh, yeah, Dave would be, so them neighbors would be making noise and just tormenting Dave, you know, to the point where it seemed like they were doing it on purpose, you know. Anyway, I'll turn the camera around so I can get kind of a half-half talk, you know. So yeah, these neighbors would just torment everybody. It wasn't like they didn't like Dave or something or anything like that or whatever. They're just no common sense or care for anybody else, you know, the way they acted up. I would come over there and they'd just be going bang, 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 and poor Dave would come over. But anyway, he had fashioned a broom. I don't know if he had a ball on then, like I don't know, but he'd be banging back up on it. I'd come over and his face was just red and he just had enough, you know, and I'd be laughing. And he'd be banging back, you know, at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning, you know what I mean? He just couldn't take it no more. Them kids were up. It was unbelievable, the noise, you know? And he'd fashioned a broomstick with some sort of knocker on the end. I don't know exactly if it was just a broomstick or what, but it was a big, heavy piece of wood. He'd be hammering back up on the floors. They'd be pounding their feet. He'd be hammering back. And what a scene, man. He'd come over and we'd be sitting there. We'd play Mario until 3 in the morning or something. And they just would not stop making noise up there. And like I said, the cops were called about 200 times. And that was just one of the neighbors. There was 3 neighbors like that. Just the craziest people moving. Like I said, they didn't even have furniture. They came up there and told me and Dave, here you go, and they pointed and the boxes already had butt marks, you know. They've been sitting on them for weeks. They were never, I don't even know if they've ever got furniture up there. I don't know. And they'd have all these people come and go from Nigeria that must be like coming and going. I don't know if they're like family that would stay there for a little while, and they'd have 6, 7, 8 people up there, and the neighbors couldn't take it no more. Dave was pounding up at that broomstick. I'd be laughing, and the neighbor one time, the cops would be there every week trying to slow them down, and they'd be jumping out the windows, the ones that have warrants or whatever, and you look out the window and see people just bodies jumping right out the back window. We had neighbors that were on fire. Their bodies were smoking. They came outside. The cops arrested him, and his whole body's smoking from the apartment being on fire because he tried cooking a damn fish in a pot of oil and just left it on high for hours and fell asleep until the whole kitchen started on fire and then lived in there. We stopped by one time, a week or 2 later, you know, 3 weeks later, you know, we'd stop by because sometimes his neighbor there I showed you on the other side would have a bonfire going until he started the other side of the building on fire, you know. And we walked in there and the guy was still in there one day. I walked in, he's cooking another fish with the same pan. It was all black, you know. And I looked over, the whole wall was burnt off. All the doors were missing, and this guy's in there and he didn't even try to paint over it. Nothing. He's back in there cooking more fish. Didn't even scale them. Just cooking fish on their side in oil or whatever and just picking the meat out and the bones. Oh boy, that guy was something else too. I could go on for hours, you guys, on these topics. I really could. Hours. I'm trying to think who else we had. The Birdman. Who else did we have in this complex? We had that 7-foot guy that just got out of prison. The ladies' man, they called him. He always had girlfriends. He was kind of funny too. I forgot his name. God, we had just names for everybody, you know. The Bible Thumper, the Birdman. We had my next door neighbor was a prison guard that was going through divorce, and he only had one arm, and he'd tell the funniest prison stories because he's like, oh, I wish I could imitate his voice, but he's like, he'd talk about all the new guards coming in that would try to disrespect the prisoners, and we'd be laughing. He'd be like, I don't even no fucking way I'm getting involved in their lives. He's like, they leave me alone, I leave them alone. But the way he said it, you know, with his one arm, we'd be laughing because he'd always use his nub to tell us, you know, like to tell the story, you know. And I'm not picking on him. It just made it so much more funny, you know, that he's a prison guard with one arm, you know, and he's got to take care of these gang members and everything. He's at the big house with the big boys, the big murderers here in Green Bay, called Green Bay Correctional, you know, with the highest security prisoners. You got guys from that Netflix series in there. You got all the big time capital murder here. You got even some of the worst get transferred here for housing that they don't even want to house them in other states, you know. And he had one arm, and he'd be telling prison stories about how, you know, these guys, and he's like, they're really not that bad unless you mess with them. And then he'd go ahead and tell us stories about these new recruits and stuff that would get big brass balls and end up getting stabbed and beat down. And he'd tell us a story with his nub, you know, all funny. We'd be laughing. Anyway, he did like 30 years at the Correctional Institute. Always carried a pistol on his side. Every time he answered the door, he'd have a pistol in his one hand. He was an alcoholic too. A lot of us were. I'm not putting anybody down when I say something like that. I'm just giving you an idea. And he'd always be drinking every time I knocked on the door. The only way, because our door's connected like this, in the hallway that went downstairs and upstairs, like I told you. So the only person it could be is somebody else in the building. If they're knocking on the side door, you know it's me or Dave or and he'd open that door with one arm and a pistol, sometimes pointed at me. And I forgot his name, but I think it was John or whatever. And I'd say, John, you know it's me, man. He'd be answer that door with the pistol. I'd have to stand to the side, you know. There was no peephole or nothing. It was just a side door. So we had one-armed John with his pistol next to me and driving a little Volkswagen Rabbit that he kept running, or a Fox, I think it was called. A little red Volkswagen Fox with a 5-speed. Only his left hand, pistol toting, Bible thumpers, Birdman out there, alcoholics that had nothing but fires every day until they started somehow they started a whole wood pile on fire. All the ambulances and fire trucks were there. The city had to pass an ordinance. He wasn't allowed to have fires there anymore. Logs were on fire, burning down, rolling down the hill. You got me out there, goofy as hell. Me and Dave. You got Dave's neighbors. We're beating a ceiling, laughing. You got I'm collecting junk off the side of the road, trying to pawn it off for $5 to go into the gas station to get burgers and a pack of whatever they were called, mackerel cigarettes or whatever, for $2.30. And we're jamming guitars with Ray next door, who's just falls asleep at all hours of the day. He never left the couch. He ended up passing away. It was sad, really. I mean, he brought a lot of joy to our lives. Just we were all cartoon characters in this division. The Birdman, and then the Birdman's friends, and anyway, I got to show you it and kind of elaborate on some of the stories I told this morning. And I'm sure in other videos I come up with more, and I'm trying to think of just the major stories that happened there, from the fires to all the other random shit, times the cops were called and people jumping out of windows. And every day was an adventure, you know. Every day was an adventure. You woke up and you just didn't know what you were going to be doing or what kind of odd job would have came my way. I had that whole place destroyed. I had tried replacing the flooring. I replaced it with Chinese tiles from a restaurant I got for free that they tore the restaurant down. I glued them to the floor improperly, and you could never get them off. To this day, I end up having to have a settlement for all the damage I had in college there from ripping all the settlement was like, I still owed them, they finally settled with me. I don't know how much it was, $7,800. They tried suing me for a lot over the year there. I didn't mean to. I was a college kid, and I thought I knew everything. I ended up gluing tiles I got from a restaurant they tore down, and I got for free bundles of tiles. I ended up gluing them with the wrong glue to the floor, and they couldn't get them out. And I used rolls of duct tape to do the plumbing, you know, and whatever. Like I said, I never had to get an inspection. Somehow I was friends with the first managers, and somehow evidently they hid my name somehow or kind of misplaced my paperwork, so I never had to. That's why I got a really good deal on the suit there for damages and stuff. And I owed the money, but I ended up getting a really good deal. They dropped it off my credit and stuff because they didn't even have my original paperwork anymore for my yeah, I was a college kid, you know, and I was drinking every day and partying every day. I had 20 people coming in and out of there, you know. They tore the building down anyway a year after I left, so it wasn't like, you know, they sold the property. They weren't getting no money for that property anyway. They got money for the actual land. But I could talk for hours. I destroyed that room from all the. We all did. My place was the one where everybody came in with their shoes on, and we all drank and beer bottles, and I had TVs everywhere hooked up to MTV at the time. They had a new MTV thing on TV, so I'd hook up 20 of these box TVs together with string them all together so they're all on the same channel, and we'd watch the music videos all day. I had a bumper pool table in there. I ripped the shit out of there and put a bar in, and my first week there, the cops kicked my door in, so when you came to my front door, it had screws and latches. The whole door was bolted together and painted over with bolts and steel beams. They kicked my door in when I moved in there, and for loud noise, drinking, party, and whatever. Eventually, it got to the point where the cops, I don't think, they hardly even knocked on my door anymore, you know. I'd be in there drinking, yelling, "Get a warrant," you know. People coming and going. We weren't bad kids. We were just Green Bay kids having fun. College kids. We had a little too much fun. But as you can see where we were living, it was a different time, you know. And I look back and I just laugh so hard today. The last couple of days, every time I talk to my buddy Dave the Rave, we called him, because he's always smiling. He's got dance moves he's playing. He used to sell beats he made with the piano to artists, and he's Dave the Rave, you know. It suits his character. He's a really funny guy. He's got the way he laughs. He'd just look at me, and we got to the point where you just look at him. We look at a situation, look at each other, and we'd just be smiling, you know. He couldn't even control it, you know. He'd be laughing. He'd have the one eye tooth sticking out, and we just knew what each other were thinking, you know, at this goofy ass neighborhood, you know. You know, somebody would say something and he'd nod and look over at me, and we'd just look back at each other and just start laughing, you know, how ridiculous the person was or whatever. We've seen it all, you know. We had seen it all by that point. You weren't going to get one over on us. Somebody tried to tell us they were coming into money or this, that, or the other or whatever. We'd just look at each other and start laughing. Oh, God, it was a trip, you know. Anyway, I'm trying to think if I have anything more to say on the topic, because I like making these a little longer for people that really just want to spend an afternoon with me or something, you know. There might come a day people actually like me and want to spend a day with me or something on here, but I don't know. It's been 6 months or something, and I got 30 subscribers, so if I do make it, I'm going to be the first person without social media, without sharing or paying for subscriptions or paying for views or paying for... Anyway, man, I wanted to get this gas station in there. I forgot all about it here. Dave the Rave used to work here, and right here behind me, I'll come around it. I showed it in some of my other videos. I could probably end the video here, you know, after this. But man, I want to show this gas station, you know. Bad. I have to. Dave the Rave. Dave worked here, and it was fucking madness. It was so crazy here at this gas station that I would come in here and hang out with Dave. Just to see what the people that would come and go from here. I would come here with Dave, and I'd sit here for an hour or two after I got done with work just to come see the fucking lunatics that would come here. I mean, the shit you would see, people coming in here passing out on drugs, trying to barter drugs, or just, it's a fucking, this place is fucking loony, man. You want some crazy shit, this gas station here is something else, man. I mean, they don't even do the roads here anymore. I can hardly even get up there. And I got, you know, it's, look at this shit. This gas station here is this is the epicenter of madness if you're in the area over here. It is something else. You will see some shit here, man. Anyway, yeah. I got this camera thing that I hook up, and I need to get a better hookup on for my camera, but I'm just gonna hold it, and I'll probably I'll look around here and see if there's anything else I want to add in. Yeah, they ripped everything down. It's all changing up here. This used to be a big liquor store, and on the left here is now a Quick Trip. They're moving in all the it's progress. What are you going to do? It's called progress, you know? But he used to work at that gas station, and we seen the people getting arrested every night, and prostitution from employees scratching lottery tickets, and oh my goodness, fighting over every night. The cops were there. Like I said, it was damn near a comedy scene in itself. I wasn't even getting paid. I'd sit there and just hang out with them and laugh. We'd be laughing at the people coming and going, and the characters of the city. And it ain't gonna be long. They're gonna tear all this down. I'm telling you right now, it's all gonna be replaced with the whole new world of money and finance and the Packers. You know what I mean? It's all about the Packers, and it's all right. It's a different world. We had 100,000 more people now, and all these little cities are connected to us, all these rich cities, and they're getting rid of all the characters, and they're pushing them out. And it was eventually going to come, and I'm glad that me, Dave, and a couple other people got the memories, but I don't think anybody's going to remember it, you know? So I guess this vlog here was just to show a little drive around old-time Green Bay and watching it change into the new Green Bay. And I hope the people that do watch my channel enjoyed my little vlog and got some smiles out of it. That's all that today was about. I figured I only live a little bit away, and I'll kick out a little video, and it'll probably be the last documentation on a life that was lived like that. I can't imagine because we were in such a weird little niche. You could call it a niche, right? We were among the people, the Packer players, the big houses, and there was a lot. And there was still old time Green Bay where you could have paid $300 a month and still live there within the area of the stadium and all the big time expensive stuff. You could there was still a little niche where back then where people could kind of still enjoy the scene, you know. And I don't think I don't think in America we'll ever see that again. Yep. So this is kind of the last memory of a time past, and the whole day was about try to enjoy what's in front of you, even though it may look like you're having a really tough time and you only got change and to buy a burger, or you might be living the best moments of your life, so try to enjoy them. I wish I would have enjoyed every single day more than I did, because I'd worry about little things. So try to enjoy every day of your life, people, because you just don't know when the last one's your last.